I met a gypsy.
Then the whole spotter thing as well is very unique to you guys in the motorsport. I mean, I guess it's unique in the fact that it's like one guy in a certain position and it's like a kind of a triangle in a sense. Like you've got you going around and then you've got the crew chief here and then the spotter in like a different vantage point. Like how important is that role in the team?
There are eyes in the sky, right? So, like, let's say Daytona a few weeks ago, right? You're literally running inches off of each other's bumpers, going 205 mile an hour or whatever it is.
So gnarly.
Pushing each other, trying to understand when runs are coming, when you're going to block lanes. But you think about it, Daytona's a 2.5 mile racetrack, right? So they're above the start-finish line at the highest vantage point on top of the suites and on top of race control and everything else. So pretty much the whole time, they're looking through their binoculars, looking at gaps and calling that out, right? But for me, I have to trust that guy on the roof. Like, I'm trusting him with everything that's going on around me, giving me the right information, and pushing me also to make the right moves, and call strategy and everything else from the crew chief. So like the way that we have it set up is the crew chief talks primarily on a second channel to the spotter, and then the spotter relays that information to me.
Yeah.
So I don't hear everything and you're kind of concentrating and whatnot. But the spotter role is one of the most important roles when it comes to that. Like they can see how the car is handling just from a visual standpoint and give the crew chief a heads up. But for me as a driver, like I'm relying on them for everything. Like Daytona is, you don't know what's going to happen, right? Like the big one always happens. So it's up to them to help guide you through it. Yes, I'm the one holding the steering wheel and ultimately making the final decisions, but their input is heavily weighted.
So what would be like 3 of the top calls that you got at the 500 this year? Like in terms of information from him, that's just like an absolute game changer.
So I bailed at one point in the pack. We ended up going to the back. We were kind of mid-pack and stuff started getting squirrely. Guys started pushing and you could tell that the energy was ramping up.
So you can like feel that in the pack.
Yeah, like
You're like, these guys are getting weird.
Yeah, like you can see guys like starting to hit each other wrong and pushes kind of that are getting guys squirrely and out of shape, and you kind of know when that's happening, and sometimes it's earlier than what you want, right? So at that point, like we bailed, like we went to the back and we rode and we missed a wreck because of it, right?
No way.
Which turned out really good.
So what's the call from the spotter? He like literally says to you, hey, it's getting weird out there.
Yeah, like, hey, just watch them here. Like they're starting to push really hard up front. Or hey, like top lane is stacking really hard every time they get into 3. Just information like that, right? Like continuing to give me information for me to process to make my judgment calls on what is happening. So that one, and then I would say the second one is like calling runs, right? So Daytona is really hard to call runs at night. And when I talk about a run, right, like the bottom lane, let's say the bottom lane is formed and everyone is in line really close to each other. It's going really big. As the lanes kind of start to grow elsewhere, more cars get dominant, how tight they are gap wise, like that creates energy, right? So like you could be in the bottom lane and the top lane's coming. Like when do you pull out to jump in front of that top lane and get pushed? Or like what call are you making to get into the middle lane if they're 3 wide, right? So that information of like quarter front, quarter back, top lanes coming, 22-47 attached outside, they're 6 back, now they're 4 back, like at times he'll be like up, like so you get up,
just
you
go.
get up the racetrack, like you're trusting him as that judgment call that if you hop up there, that lane's going to go forward, right? Like you want to continue to inch your way forward. Like I guess the thing is like if you had somebody standing on an overpass on the major freeway here, right? LA traffic sucks. But if you're gridlocked and you want to continue to make moves from lane to lane and keep jumping cars, and let's say there's 40 cars in front of you, how do you get from 40th up to the front to have a shot to win it, right? And if you have somebody on an overpass looking at how the traffic is staggered and they're like, okay, you need to get into the bottom lane here, right? Like there's going to be a gap, or there's going to be a gap in the middle. Like let's keep creeping our way up there and calling those runs to get yourself in a better position.
Yeah.
So
or like knowing that the lane is open, but you don't know where somebody is in respective to you, and if you've got time to pull out. So he's like, go, 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 or up, up, up. You just turn the wheel. You're like, no one's behind me. If I just keep doing my thing and go there, I'll be fine.
Yep.
But you would never be able to like look in mirrors to know if you actually could.
Yeah. So we do have a rear view camera in our cars now. So like you can see the picture behind you, but you don't know how fast that run is coming, right? Or if it's worth blocking, or if there's enough cars up there to have enough energy to propel you to the front, right?
Because they do. So I mean, don't claim to be a NASCAR expert, so go with me. But there is a certain amount of energy and momentum that's created by all of those cars pushing together, right?
Yes. Yeah. So 2 cars are faster than 1, right? 6 cars are faster than 2.
16 are fast.
Or they're
real fast.
Yeah, you're going, right?
Yeah.
So like you think about it, like the spoiler, the closer you are to the car in front of you, the air off the spoiler is not on the car behind him, right? So like you have that wind effect to where the car essentially in second doesn't have any drag on it. So like you can get to the guy's bumper and push, and you're locked together at times, right? So being able to understand when a run is too big from the spotter to pull out, like we call them bad blocks, right? Like if you pull out too late, most of the time you're going to end up getting wrecked because they have so much energy and they're getting pushed from behind. Like they can't slow down. You know what I mean? Like you're going 200 mile an hour.
Yeah.
And if you're going 197 and they hit you at 205, like that's a pretty big speed difference, right? Sometimes you can hang on to it. Most of the time not, and that's where the big one comes from. But understanding that, the information part of it from the spotter is like the most critical part, right?
Dude, there's
like,
a lot on their shoulders.
Yeah, like they're literally like Picasso on the spotter stand describing what the painting is around you and how it's continuing to change. So like from our move standpoint, right? We started stage 3, we pitted late on fuel. I want to say we started stage 3 in like 32nd, something like that. And with 8 laps to go, we were running 3rd. So like we continued to work our way up through there by picking the right lanes,
and that's just great calls.
And getting through wrecks and things of that sort. So great calls, great track position at that point, right? Great people around you. We had some Toyota teammates that were lined up with us, pushing us really hard. We dodged a couple wrecks as well, which was nice, and we got through them and then came home 5th. So like the way that that race plays out, like there's a lot of luck involved, but you also have to make the right moves and try and put yourself in the right place.
If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. And to listen to the full 3-hour podcast, search Gypsy Tales in your favorite podcast platform or click the link in the description below. Gypsy Gang.